welcome back to the BRSCC Mazda Super Series. We're in the holding area where we see Simon Fleet in P3 and Jake Bailey in P2. Now they had quite an exciting race in race 2, so I'm really excited to see what happens. But we have Thomas Collins in P1, who's very sharply becoming the man of the weekend. So I'm going to hand it over to Andy to run us through the rest of the grid.
Yeah, we've had some great racing this weekend, and let's hope that continues in race 3. They start this one how they finished race 2, so it's Collins and Bailey row 1 ahead of Fleet and Crook row 2. Josh Jackson is on row 3 with Simon Orange, and Matt Pickford and Liz Walton on row 4. Nick Dunn, our only retirement from the second race of the weekend, starts at the back. You can see a few of the cars have got their windscreen wipers on. There's just a bit of drizzle in the air here this afternoon, but not enough to give us a fully wet track just yet. As for the final times, the red lights go on, they go out now, and away we go. And on board with Josh Jackson, you can see some of the spots of rain on the windscreen there. Who gets the start at the front there? It's going to be Collins that leads down towards turn 1. Jeremy Crook trying to bully his way around the outside. That's not going to work though. Who will be second? Fleet or Bailey? They're side by side into the first corner, and Bailey has the bravery to go right around the outside at the first turn. Coppice to get the inside line for Charlie's, and that will put him into second position. Josh Jackson, after spending much of the second half of race 2 stuck behind Jeremy Crook, has not been able to get past him off the line in race 3, so he's still staring at the back of the 77 car. And Simon Orange and Nick Dunn the next two through, and Nick Dunn had a mysterious retirement in race 2. Let's hope that we get to see him work his way right the way through to the front in race 3. So Collins and Bailey are 2 race winners so far this weekend, our first and second. Fleet is third, and then side by side for fourth. Jackson there looking at the inside of the 77 car of Jeremy Crook at the top of the hill, couldn't do it. Dunn and Orange are side by side, and Dunn trying to go right down the outside at the never-ending right-hander at Chris Curve. That takes some doing. Back with Jackson. What order will they find themselves in as they come down towards Mansfield for the first time? Still Simon Orange ahead of Nick Dunn and Matt Pickford there towards the tail end of the train of cars. On board with Jackson. Want to get past Crook as quickly as possible before the leaders make too much of a break for it at the front of the field. Jackson will feel that he's the fastest driver here this weekend, having stuck it on pole position in qualifying yesterday morning, but as Tom Collins gets a wheel on the dirt there coming over the mountain, Jackson just hasn't really had the rub of the green in the race. He's up the inside of Crook there into the hall bends, and that's a nice move. It's very difficult to run side by side through there, just ask Nick Dunn, but Josh Jackson makes it stick and gains the position. So Collins leads the way, Bailey in second in what we believe will be a slightly shortened race because of a few delays that we've had earlier on in the day. This will be 15 minutes instead of 20 minutes, so even less time to make your impact in this one. At the end of the opening lap, Tom Collins leads the way. Second place for Jake Bailey. Third place is Fleet, and they're side by side again for the race leads. They head up towards turn 1. Bailey trying to get around the outside. There is definitely a score to settle between these two. They have a win apiece this weekend. For Jake Bailey, it was his second of the year. For Collins, it was his first of the year because this is his first weekend racing with the series in 2018. And they both want to go out of this weekend twice a winner at Cadwell Park rather than just once a winner. To the brakes into Park Corner, they're already pulling away slightly from Simon Fleet in third, who, it has to be said, is not being reeled in by a real rate of knots by fourth place man Josh Jackson. Back out. Ooh, floppy markers go flying again up at the gooseneck there. That was courtesy of Tom Collins even, who has sent a few floppy markers flying this weekend, but I think everyone has at one point or another. There was some cement dust that's been laid down from a previous race on the run towards mountain section. Collins seems to have gapped Bailey now just slightly. So Collins, your leader. Can he pull away, or is he going to have to fight a rearguard action for the entire duration of the race? If the first 2 races are anything to go by, well, actually, they don't really give you any conclusive answers, do they? Because race 1 was extremely tight for the race lead, right the way down to the last lap. That was when Collins was doing the chasing, and when he got in front in race 2, he pulled out, well, eventually an 8.2 second winning margin over Jake Bailey in second place. So will he be able to do the same thing to Jake here in this one? Moment, it looks like he might do because he's pulled out the best part of 3/4 of a second or so over Bailey. Fleet is third, Jackson fourth, Crook is fifth, Nick Dunn is sixth, and Simon Orange in seventh place. There goes Nick Dunn, flashing through shot at turn 1. And then out onto the back straight once again, where Nick Dunn can see Josh Jackson pulling away, so he'll want to get on with this, find a way past Jeremy Crook as soon as possible. Is there an opportunity on the brakes into Park? He thought about it, you could see him just fainting over to the middle part of the road, but no way through just there. Jeremy Crook still hangs on to this position tenaciously, but Nick Dunn does look the quicker of the two. Back out of the goose tent they go. He has a look at the inside in towards Mansfield. Someone's locked up their tyres in front. I heard the screeching of brakes, and whoever it was appears to have got away with it. It was either, I think, Josh Jackson or Simon Fleet, who were the next two cars up the road. Back through the left-right at the mountain, and Jeremy Crook hits sideways there as he tries to get the car stopped. That could give Dunn a chance to attack into his favourite sequence of corners, the Hall Bends. This time around, though, he's single file through there. He couldn't quite get the overlap, but you know that if he could have done, whether it was the inside or the outside, he'd have probably tried to make the move stick. Hard on the brakes into the hairpin. Down into Barn Corner once again. We're ticking towards half the race distance, we're not quite there yet. Just the start finish line, and see they're just starting to split up into their individual little battles now. Fleet third, Jackson fourth. Crook, Dunn and Orange fighting over fifth position. Round Charlie's once again. That's a very tricky corner as well. Again, it flattens out on the exit there. A lot of the corners at Cadwell Park do that. You go in and there's quite a lot of camber to catch you. And then just as you get on the power, when you really need all the grip, the road falls away from you or flattens out. And very easy to just understeer straight off the road when that happens. Doing a good job in these tricky conditions, it has to be said, with rain just coming and going in the air, to keep themselves on the island and not find themselves on the grass, which is as slippery as ice when it gets a little bit damp. And unlike many other circuits in the UK and indeed around the world these days, where if you run a bit wide there's some tarmac runoff area to catch you, here there isn't. You will be on the grass, and if it's wet you're probably going to spin, and if you spin you're probably going to find a barrier to hit. Oh, Nick Dunn really does enjoy this part of the circuit, doesn't he? All through the mountain, the Hall Bends. He was on the attack again there, and he gets a much better exit from the corner than Jeremy Crook does. Will go through fairly easily, I think, into the Hall Bends, and Simon Orange will also follow him. So Jeremy Crook, we've seen him make a few mistakes through the mountain section already this race, and that was a costly one because it costs him 2 positions from the cars behind. So Nick Dunn, finally the pressure tells, and he finds a way through. Onto another lap. Simon Fleet there in third place, still keeping the 72 car behind him. And Josh Jackson just can't quite find the way through past Simon Fleet. Been a really impressive weekend for Simon actually here, with that podium in race number 2, sorry, side by side for the race lead here though. Tom Collins and Jake Bailey, and Bailey having a big go around the outside there, but that's very difficult to do. Even if you do get around the corner side by side, the chances are you're going to get shovelled out onto the grass as you exit the turn. Back with Jackson here, and well, we said at the start of the weekend it was almost unthinkable that he wasn't going to win a race. It could be that he doesn't even get a podium out of the weekend if he doesn't get past Simon Fleet. It's not really been his fault. He led race 1 and then was tagged into a spin by Tom Collins. He was fighting his way through at the start of race 2 and then got held up by a spinning Nick Dunn. But in this one, he hasn't really had any big dramas. It's just been the difficulty of overtaking here at Cadwell Park. It is so hard to pick your way through the field, especially you can make 2 or 3 overtakes over the course of a race. But when you're starting 6th or 7th, then it really is difficult to, 5th indeed, as Josh started in this one, it's very difficult to get yourself right to the front of the field because every overtake tends to take a couple of laps in the making, and especially with this being a short 15-minute race, he's going to have it all the harder trying to make it any further than the 4th position that he's in at the moment. The leaders, though, are nose to tail still as they came across the start-finish line. Look how close together they are. You almost lose Jake Bailey as he slots right in behind Tom Collins, tries the outside line and get into turn 1, but from that far back that wasn't going to work. You don't really do any braking into the first corner. He does look a bit quicker than Collins at this point. Collins is having to just drive a little bit defensively, and look at that, it doesn't run anywhere near the edge of the road coming out of Charlie. He just turns straight to the right as he comes out of the corner so as to have the defensive line up towards Park, but Bailey's going to have his nose in front on the outside line, I think. Can he move over to defend the position? He's going to try. They almost lean on each other. Collins comes back at him up the inside line, wheel on the grass, goes back through and doesn't run too wide on the exit either, so Collins still the race leader. Jake Bailey, try as he might, cannot dislodge him from the race lead. Been a really good battle between these two, but we've only got about 6 minutes or so to go in this race, if that. So where does the move come from Bailey? He's tried into Park on a few occasions, to no avail. Wait for the cars to appear into view down at the bottom of the mountain section. And here they are about to come. And it is still, I think, going to be, yep, Tom Collins that leads the way. Bailey, though, sniffing around left, right, trying to find a way through. It's definitely, I said this in the earlier race this weekend, definitely been the most entertaining weekend's racing of the Mazda MX-5 Super Series this year, and I think the fact that Tom Collins has come along to play has a little bit of something to do with that, because he's been right in the thick of the action. The competition's been closer throughout the field, actually, this weekend. Back across the start-finish line, still got time for a couple more laps, so all still to play for here for Jake Bailey. All it takes is one minute mistake from Collins, and that will open the door for Jake to come through. It's such a momentum circuit, Cadwell Park, with all of the rise and fall. If you make a mistake, chances are that you're going to be going up a hill next, so if you've lost some speed, you're going to continue to lose speed all the way up the hill. So Collins still tenaciously hanging on to the race lead. What can Bailey do about it? Can he get up the inside? Can he get up the inside towards Park Corner? Yes, he can, from a long way back. He gets sideways, though. Fantastic move from Jake Bailey. I don't know how he got the car stopped then, but he did. He was all crossed up as he did it, but he's gone through into the race lead. So Tom Collins eventually has to give way and nearly throws it all the way at the next corner at the gooseneck. Now, can he come back at him, though? Because I don't think Bailey is much quicker than him. So if there is an opportunity to come back up the inside or even the outside somewhere, Collins will probably go for it. Bailey's still going to have to defend for this second win of the weekend. In towards the mountain they go again. The 14 car certainly looks very edgy, though. He's certainly pushing hard to try and build a gap. You can see from the body language of the car that he's on it. He's not happy to just cruise around and defend where he needs to. He wants to build a bit of a margin now, a bit of an advantage over Collins behind, because he knows that Tom Collins is not afraid to go for a gap that maybe some other drivers wouldn't do. Through the final corner they go, and still about 3 minutes or so left on the clock, so could yet change. Simon Fleet still third, Josh Jackson fourth, and Nick Dunn in fifth. George Grant, of course, the man behind Clapham North, who also races Clapham North livery car in the MX-5 Super Cup. Then it's Simon Orange, and unfortunately, this race not going quite as well for Jeremy Crook as his last one did, where he finished fourth, but he's had a moment somewhere out of our sight, I think, because he was running higher than this early on in the race. Of course, we saw Nick Dunn find a way past him, but now Simon Orange has also managed to find a way through. So, back through the dip on the Park straight, over the other side of the hill. Crook closes back in on Orange, though, as they go into the braking zone. So Simon just has to move over to the inside of the road to defend. Those leaning on each other as they turn in, and that very, very well prepared car of Jeremy Crook. Very striking livery, particularly when you see it in the flesh. Doesn't necessarily get done justice on the telly, but when you see that car up close, it really is a nice livery. A little bit wide then, going through Park Corner, so loses the few car lengths that he just gained from being in the slipstream up the hill. So Simon Orange then looking a little bit more comfortable now in that position. Still time for a lap or so to go, so in fact he didn't get a great run out of the mountain section there, so Jeremy Crook just closes in once again through the Hall bends. Hard on the brakes into the right-handed hairpin at the bottom of the hill, another corner where it's so easy just to run wide on the grass, either lock up the front brakes on the way in or spin up the rear wheels on the way out. You just go through onto the final lap of the race, and so Jake Bailey, your leader. He's built up a small margin over Tom Collins. It's certainly not comfortable, but it is some breathing room. I don't think Tom is quite close enough to get the slipstream down the Park straight this time around. Get a whiff of it. He might just close in towards the end of the straight, but he's not going to be close enough to have a go under braking, I don't think. And he's not, so Bailey has seen off the challenge through the obvious overtaking opportunities on the circuit, but there are some slightly less obvious places where you can try and make a pass. And one of those is down here at Mansfield, where Bailey will have to be watching his mirrors because Collins has closed back in, and now we're heading into a part of the circuit which Collins does seem to go well at, through the mountain and the Hall bends. And on this final time of asking, Collins is definitely close enough to be of concern to Jake Bailey. If Jake were to make a mistake, for example, coming out of this corner of the mountain, Collins will be straight up the inside, but he doesn't do that. He holds on to the position, and now really it's just single file stuff down towards the end of the lap. This is Mazda MX-5 racing. You never do count any chickens until they've crossed the line, but it will be difficult to make a move, I think, through the final corner, as indeed proves to be the case. And so, for the second time this weekend and the third time in 2018, it is race victory for Jake Bailey. Jake Bailey takes the checkered flag. Second place goes the way of Tom Collins. Third for Simon Fleet. Fourth, Josh Jackson. And fifth for Nick Dunn. Simon Orange sixth, Jeremy Cook seventh, Matt Pickford eighth, and Liz Walton comes home in ninth, and the last of the finishers.
Jake, you're back on P1. That's all I can really say.
Oh, it was a good race. Yeah, thank you very much. Tom kept me true for most of that race, and I knew it was going to be difficult. But a late move down in the top corner sort of just saw me through. So yeah, really good race.
Collins, that was a huge, well-deserved second place. You kept Bailey off the back of you for the majority of that.
Yeah, he got me in the end though. Just going down the park into that corner there, and he just managed to get on the inside of me. We both braked as late as we could, locked up and nearly ended up on the grass, but yeah, it was good. Kept me on my toes, so it's brilliant.
That was just a phenomenal race. You kept everybody off the back of you time and time again from fourth position, but you came third overall.
Yeah, fantastic. Nearly got into second on the start. I was side by side with Jake going through Coppice and into Charlie's, but he just managed to get ahead. They pulled away, and then I was having to fight to keep Josh off the back of me. So yeah, it was good. I'm very excited. I'm very happy. I've just retired. It's my stag weekend next weekend. Couldn't be better.